All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football here in the Deep South. College football is king, and on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. I got my man Devin Dawson once again. We're going to break down some of this recruiting just in case some of y'all don't understand how this composite works. And let's just say when Auburn gets like a recruit like Jadian Roberts out of Houston, Texas, who is actually pretty high in the recruiting rankings comparatively speaking at 93%, why Auburn's class jumped from 28 to 20. A lot of people like, well, damn, I thought he should have jumped a little bit higher, or maybe he shouldn't have jumped that high. So we're gonna, Devin is gonna give us a little bit better understanding of how all of that stuff works. Devin Dawson, what's going on, man?
Doing good. How about you, man?
I'm doing great day for recruiting for the Tigers, and it's starting to really become promising to where Big Cat Weekend might not even be necessary this year.
Right. Yeah, so we received a commitment today from the number 8 offensive guard, Jaden Roberts. He's actually the teammate of Demetrius Davis, the dual threat quarterback we got the other day. I'd like to go over how this composite works. I'm in a lot of football groups. A lot of people don't seem to understand. So Rivals does their own scouting and evaluation. So does ESPN, and so does 24/7 Sports. After all that is generated, 24/7 does a composite where they take an average and average out that player, and that's where you get your 93s. Anything above an 89 is a 4-star. Anything below that's a 3-star, and your 5-stars are usually 99 plus.
What a lot of people have to understand is that now, you may be a 4-star recruit, but there's such a wide range of that 4-star recruit. Like you could have an 87 4-star or 80, 88 or whatever it is. And then you can have that 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, or it may be even a Tank Bigsby who was listed as a 4-star recruit. So do you think there's a possibility that the range of the 4-star recruit makes it really vague as far as the recruiting game goes? Because, it seems like there should be another star. Like if you're going to do something like that, you need 6 stars instead of 5, because the range between the lowest end of the 4-star recruit and the highest end of the 4-star recruit is just too much range there.
I would have to agree with you. I mean, you take an 89, which is a 4-star, and then once you get to like 94, 95, those are what I consider elite recruits.
Right.
And then you take Tank Bigsby. I think he was a 98. He wasn't even a 5-star anymore. It's because they dropped him.
Right.
But I mean that's almost as elite as you can get. So in a sense, I do agree with what you're saying, because there's such a wide gap between the 89, to 97, 98. Huge gap.
Now, my favorite part of the recruiting game is the players that I've seen more often than not, for various reasons. Not only do they exceed expectations, but they're really good roster builders. It's those guys I love that 91, those guys between 91 and like 96. Those are where you really build your roster. Those are where you really get your blue collar type players. And then let's just say you ease in a Derek Brown every now and then to kind of shore up everything. But I really like the idea of the fact that Auburn over the last few years has done a great job of filling their roster with those middle tier 90% recruits and really taking them to the next level from a development standpoint.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I have it pulled up right now. So 2017, our average commit was 89, so a 4-star. That low end 4-star. You jump to 2018, it's a 90.2. So you're getting higher. 2019, 91.16. I mean, that's getting to where that's those all roster builders.
Right.
And then 2020 drops a little bit, but I mean, you had Tank Bigsby, Zeke Walker, Kobe Hudson. I mean, you had some elite guys. Most of that was just offensive linemen to build depth, because we had to have some offensive linemen. So they took some of the low tier, And then you get
and you bring up another really good point. Now, although you want your, especially nowadays with the SEC being a conference that is really predicated as to how you play at the line of scrimmage. Yeah, you want to have a 5-star recruit at the offensive line, but for the most part, if you can have a guy that's now I'll say this, it really gets a little dangerous and a little scary when you start to have those offensive line recruits around the 86,
Yeah,
85, 87 mark. That's where you have your Caleb Kims and those kind of dudes.
the
But
guys that senior year are just able to play usually.
yeah, right. It take and see, and that's another thing where we talk about Gus Malzahn's, which I think this is disgusting. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and say that publicly. Is we talk about Gus Malzahn's ability to develop certain skill sets, but at the same time, if the problem is not development of the skill set, it's the actual getting out in front of making the right decisions as it relates
Correct,
to recruiting.
correct. And I do believe we have a really good. We're in a good position for the offensive line. I like the coach we have. Right now, I mean, we have 4 offensive line commit. 2 of them are bottom tier, but they're humongous.
Oh,
Then,
they're
then we
huge.
have Caleb Johnson, who's one of those 89 4-stars. He's a 30th best offensive tackle in the country, 6'7", 295. And then we landed Jaden Roberts today, the number 8 offensive guard in the country. That's huge. Auburn is really strong. We've had some pretty good tackles. Prince Tega. Hell, I thought Jack Driscoll was okay, but we have really struggled on the interior offensive line.
Now let me ask you this, and this is a bold question. You followed Auburn recruiting a little bit longer than I have. Considering all the elements involved, why do you think Auburn, knowing that the SEC is predicated at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football field, how did Auburn drop the ball at the offensive line position? Such a pivotal position. Auburn running back, you having some of the best running backs in the country over the years. How did Auburn miss the mark on offensive line recruiting
Man,
prior to now?
that's a good question. I think after 2013, I can't remember who it was. Was it the guy from Texas? Anyways, man, they just did a terrible job of not only recruiting. I think one year we had like 3 offensive line commit. I mean, that's terrible. And then you bring in a guy like Calvin Ashley that didn't get developed properly. It just fell to pieces. But as of now, the past couple of years, I mean, we have an abundance. And they're not all, high tier, but some of those guys are going to, when you have that many of that size, some of those guys are going to pan out. And then you're adding guys like Jaden Roberts. I mean, and then a lot of those JUCO guys, I'm sure you remember from last year, really highly rated. I think some of the top 4 JUCO offensive linemen in the country came to Auburn. So I think maybe not this year because how Gus, I think, they'll more than likely start some of the more experienced guys. But the year after, I have a good feeling about the offensive line. Bo's senior year.
One thing I really missed about Auburn's offensive line, when I looked at this past year's offensive line, you look at the disparity in size. Exactly. When you look at Auburn's offensive line, they just really look dysfunctional.
Yes.
From a size standpoint. Like you look at Oregon's offensive line, those jokers were big all the way across. But then you got Auburn, you got Prince Tega Wanagu, who could play basketball. Then you have Jack Driscoll, who was kind of undersized, and then you have the guys in the middle, Mike Horton and all those guys. It just seems like a really negatively diverse size differential in the guys. Where if you look at Alabama's offensive line, they look like like a herd of cattle all the way across.
Yeah, exactly.
Georgia the same way, herd of cattle all the way across. Clemson, they're pushing you around up there, and all of the teams who were really good at the line of scrimmage, they had it wasn't a 360-pound guy, and then right next to him is a 290-pound guy.
Right.
Those guys were fat all the way across, and they were moving the line of scrimmage. As a matter of fact, Georgia and Alabama, you can see it. As good as Auburn's defensive line was, there was some moments where Georgia and Alabama got some really nice push against Derrick Brown and Marlon Davidson. What do
Oh,
you think about
absolutely.
that?
Oh, you're exactly right. I mean, back when we had Cadillac, hell, even when we had Michael Dyer with Lee Zimba, man, those guys would push you around.
Right.
And it didn't matter who was on. I mean, and the size, there was a good average size between each position. And it's like you said, hell, we got one guy 6'7", one 6'3". You know, I
Right.
mean, it's all over the place. Also, I've been asked this a lot. Why are we still number 20? You know, all this and that. Well, first we have 9 commits. Our average rating is a 90, 95, which is really good.
It's excellent.
There's only 6 teams ahead of us who have a better average rating, and the rest of them are like 89. Last year at the end of the cycle, the highest team that had an 89 average finished 16th in recruiting. So
Right.
we're definitely on the right track. I
Well,
want
and
to
I think
walk.
a lot of people are not understanding the fact that sometimes with numbers, if you really know the aspects of numbers and averages, sometimes one player can really inflate the
Oh,
recruiting class.
absolutely,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Or you can have one guy, let's just say you got a bunch of 89s, 90s, 92s, 94s, whatever. And you could have the two guys at the bottom at like 84, 85. And that
Right.
brings down the overall average, but it doesn't. See, what people have to understand is when you're looking at a recruiting class, you want to look at the overall quality. That's why you got to dissect
Absolutely.
each particular player. So right now, I think Auburn is in pretty good shape because even if they stop right now and had a 15th ranked recruiting class, but their average rating was say 91%, and
That's
it's
good.
balanced throughout the whole class, that could actually be on the slide better than a top 10 recruiting class.
Absolutely. See, right now our lowest commit, his name's Jamarion Gooch.
Yeah, he's the fat
He
dude from
yeah,
Tennessee.
man, this guy is 6'8", 360-pound offensive tackle. I mean, he's gonna have to lose some weight, but hell, all he has to do is fall forward, work
Right.
on run. I feel like we're really trying to get back into that run block, that
Right. And
old
a lot of
school
folks don't
smash
know that
mouth.
a lot of times with a guy like him, his recruiting, because see, and a lot of folks don't get to it's political too at times. When teams are starting to become interested in you, then your rating starts to go up as well.
Absolutely.
So I mean, he could easily go from an 86. He could be like a
Oh, he will. He
89,
will.
somewhere like that.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna tell you, Devin, I
got
definitely enjoyed this one. It's very
I got a
informative.
feeling he's going to be this year's DJ Williams. Starts as a
Oh
3-star,
yeah,
bumps to a 4.
yeah.
I want to go over something really quick for the Auburn fans. Auburn Undercover, great site. You don't have to have an app. I pay for it. You don't have to pay for it. Type in Auburn Undercover. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see the 3 slashes. Click it. It shows news, the football boards. You can look at football recruiting, basketball, baseball recruiting. Click football recruiting. You have your news feed, commitments, decommitments, schedule commits. It even shows the scholarship distribution, targets, offers, the crystal ball. That's how you know when some of these guys are gonna commit. They schedule their commits. It shows it on here, and it shows who they're interested in. A lot of experts, Keith Niebuhr being one. They'll predict where they think they're going to go. And as of now, Auburn has a 91% accuracy as far as the crystal ball of all time. So 9 times out of 10, if it says they're going to Auburn, they're going to Auburn. But great
Yes,
site.
sir, man.
Check it out. And it's free.
Yes, sir. And that's definitely great information for the Auburn fans to kind of see where these players are trending towards, and also guys like me and you to actually once,
Right.
we can't always call the crystal ball because I mean I look at
Yeah,
George Pickens, we all thought he was
exactly.
coming to Auburn, but at the
Not
same
nine,
time we
9
can
out of
we can
10.
analyze the reasoning behind why they may come here. But this stuff is public. I mean, everybody can. If
Exactly.
you're not lazy, you can figure it out if you want to. So,
But
like I said before, Devin, once again, I appreciate you joining me once again with a very informative video for our Auburn fans and some of the fans in the SEC who don't know that Tennessee is about to lose a lot of those recruits. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. I'm here with Devin Dawson, recruiting guru, and also president of All About Auburn Sports page on Facebook. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.